So good evening, I am Lyod Banzon from BIT 3B So our topic for today is about Rizal life, his higher education and life abroad. Group 2, education 01 Ateneo de Manila, and then 02 is Santa Isabela College, 03 is University of Santo Tomas. Life board: Rizal in Spain, Rizal in Singapore, Rizal in Barcelona and Madrid, Circolo Hispano-Filipino, Rizal'S Manzon, Rizal in Paris, in Gay Paris, Rizal in Grand Tour of Europe, and then next is Rizal in Germany, trip to Hong Kong, Rizal in Tokyo, Japan, trip to United States of America, Rizal in London, Rizal in Belgium, Brussels, then most fortune in Madrid, and last one is Rizal in Gen. So daghan gid kayo no. So anak gid nga noon si Rizal, ilhado gid siya. Not only for the Philippines but also in some countries. And then next is, so let's begin. Rizal's education. Ateneo de Manila. Ateneo was known to be the most prestigious college for the boys because of its great teaching. So ang kaning Ateneo is known po siya sa Kuan College for the boys kay dugay na begini siya nga school kuilahan, and then subok na ba ilhado na gid siya, and daghan na pug na napamatud-an nga or daghan nang niagi diri nga successful nindot on, or in short nindot og training. And then from 1872 to 1877 under the supervision of Jose Prest, Rizal studied in Ateneo in de Manila. So nag-study din ni si Rizal ngadto no. So ana gid nagasikat sa eskwelahan, mura siya Harvard in Philippines, inana siya nga version. And then next is Rizal went to Ateneo Municipal, formerly known as Eskwela Pia. So niadto siya ato noon katong giingon nga Eskwela Pia. In search of Rizal's formal knowledge as a high school student, his father wanted to send Rizal to Letran. So ganahan niya papa nga i-send nga to si Rizal sa Letran, but decided to enroll him at B letter instead. Santa Isabel College. Rizal took a private lesson to Santa Isabel College to be the proficient in Spanish and develop his skills in poetry making. So ni kuan siya ngadto no, ni took siya og private lesson. So mao day nga na-enhance gid yang skills in thinking and creating some kuan poetry writing. And and then is literature for Rizal. MI Primera Inspiración, my first inspiration. So kuan ni siya kanang iyang mga na literature for Rizal ba. And then Un Recuerdo de mi Pueblo. So ang iyang pasabot ato, in memory of my town. Ligang Rizal no. Sus. University of Santo Tomas. After completion of Bachelor in Arts at Ateneo, Rizal was admitted to the higher studies at the university. So amiga, higher studies at university naman. So Doña Teodora was against Rizal's decision to pursue a higher education because of her fear of what might happen her son due to the martyrdom of Gamboza. So hadlok na yung kuhan kani si Doña Teodora. Against siya sa kanang sa decision kay Rizal ba, bali murag ako, and then nako gusto nga course ko on, then against sa mama. So nagito yung mga rason na ba inana po niya pagsabot sa iyang mama. Lahi lang yung situation kay Rizal kay kuan man kanang basin niya may tabo sa martyrdom about sa Gamboza ba. Then however Don Francisco sent Rizal to UST. So si Don Francisco kuno kay gisend niya si Rizal sa UST. Then the Dominican University. So mo na ang katong gisenda ni Francisco ka si Rizal. And then academic performance at UST, liberalism and literary works as a university student. As a la Juventud Filipina, or to the Filipino youth. So ang ihang meaning diat o kanang ihang pagtranslate ani sa to the Filipino youth is a la Juventud Filipina. And then the Council of the Gods kay El Conseje de los Dios 1980. So ngigang Rizal no, yung mga kuani mga sample artworks. So ana gid siya ka grabe og mindset. So di ginato ni nga mas deeper kay ba na mataan ni sa una nato istorya ni Rizal, pero mas the more ginato makabawan if willing ta. So thank you, that's all. That's my part of this reporter, and thank you.
So hello, I am Jonathan Llagas and I am the next reporter. So I will be reporting Rizal's life abroad. So Rizal in Spain. Jose Rizal went to Spain in 1882 for education and advocating reforms. So noong 1882, nagtungo si Jose Rizal sa Espanya para mag-aral at itaguyod ang mga reforma. So layunin niyang makamit ang mataas na antas ng edukasyon at maging boses para sa pagbabago ng ating bayan. So sa pamamagitan ng kanyang pag-aaral at pagsusulat, naging instrumento si Rizal sa pagbibigay diin ng mga ideya na makatutulong sa pag-unlad ng lipunan at pamahalaan. Next, he studied medicine and philosophy at Spanish universities. So siya'y nagtapos ng kurso sa medisina at filosofiya sa isang universidad sa Espanya. So ang kanyang pag-aaral sa medisina ay naglalayong maging isang dalubhasa sa larangan ng pangangalaga sa kalusugan, habang ang kanyang pagsasanay sa filosofiya ay nagbigay sa kanya ng malalim na pag-unawa sa mga idea at prinsipyo sa buhay. So ang pagtutok niya sa dalawang larangan ng pag-aaral ay naglakas loob sa kanya na maging masigasig sa kanyang layunin na maging bahagi ng pag-unlad at pagbabago ng kanyang bayan. Next, Rizal actively participated in the Filipino reformist movement in Spain. So si Jose Rizal ay aktibong nakilahok sa kilusang reformista ng mga Pilipino sa Espanya. So pinamunuan niya ang pagsusulong ng mga ideya at pagbabago para sa kapakanan ng kanyang mga kababayan. So sa pamamagitan ng ang kanyang pakikilahok, naging boses siya ng mga naglalayong makamtan ang reforma at pag-unlad sa Pilipinas. Next, his time in Spain shaped him as a nationalist and reformist. Okay, so sa kanyang mahabang pananatili sa Espanya, naging dahilan ito para mabuo ang kanyang malalim na pagmamahal at dedikasyon sa kanyang bansa. So ang mga karanasang ito sa dayuhang lupa ay nag-anyo sa kanya bilang isang nasyonalista at reformista. And sa pamamagitan ng kanyang mga pag-aaral at pagpapalawak ng kanyang pananaw at pakikisalamuha sa mga kapwa estudyante at taga-Espanya, nahanap niya ang kahulugan ng pagiging makabayan at ang pangangailangan ng mga reforma para sa kanyang bayan. And he wrote influential works like Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo based on his experience there. So sa kanyang pananatili sa Espanya, isinulat ni Jose Rizal ang mga makabuluhang akda tulad ng Noli Me Tangere at El Filibusterismo na naglalarawan ng kanyang mga karanasan doon. So ang mga nobelang ito ay nagbibigay liwanag sa mga suliranin at kaapihan na kanyang nasilayan sa lipunan at nagsilbing hamon sa kapangyarihan ng mga nagdudulot ng kawalan ng katarungan. So sa pamamagitan ng kanyang pagsusulat, ipinahayag ni Rizal ang kanyang pangarap para sa pagbabago at kalayaan ng kanyang bayan. Ang mga akdang ito ay naging sandata ni Rizal sa pakikibaka para sa reforma at kalayaan ng Pilipinas. So sa simpleng pagsasalaysay ng kanyang mga karanasan, nagsilbing inspirasyon ang mga nobela para sa mga nag-aasam ng makatarungan at pag-asa. So sa pamamagitan ng pagsusulat, ipinapahayag ni Rizal ang kanyang adhikain na maging instrumento ng pagbabago at pag-unlad ng kanyang bayan. So Rizal in Singapore. So Rizal visited Singapore in 1882 during his Southeast Asia journey. So noong 1882, bumisita si Jose Rizal sa Singapore bilang bahagi ng kanyang paglalakbay sa Timog Silangang Asya. So sa kanyang pagbisita sa bansang ito, nakakita siya ng iba't ibang kultura at nakipag-ugnayan sa mga tao. So ang paglalakbay na ito ay nagbigay daan sa mas malawak na pag-unawa ni Rizal sa mga iba't ibang aspeto ng lipunan at nagdudulot ng inspirasyon sa kanya para mas malalim na pagsusuri sa mga suliraning panlipunan. So sa kanyang biyahe, naging success si Rizal sa mga realidad at pagkakaiba ng mga bayan sa Timog Silangang Asya. So ang kanyang mga obserbasyon at pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga tao sa Singapore ay nagdala ng bagong ay nagdala ng bagong kumbaga perspective at idea sa kanyang isipan. So ang paglalakbay na ito ni Rizal ay nagdulot ng mas maraming impormasyon at inspirasyon sa kanya na nakatutulong sa paghubog sa kanyang pag-unawa sa kanyang sarili at sa kanyang misyon para sa pag-unlad ng kanyang bayan. So next, he observed the living conditions of Filipino expatriates. So si Jose Rizal ay nagmasid sa kalagayan ng pamumuhay ng mga Pilipino na nagtatrabaho sa ibang bansa. Sa kanyang mga obserbasyon, nakita niya ang mga pagsubok at kahirapan na kinakaharap ng mga kababayan na nagsilbing dayuhan sa ibang lupain. So ang mga pagmamasid na ito ay nagbigay sa kanya ng mas malalim na pag-unawa sa mga suliranin at pangangailangan ng mga Filipino na naghahanap buhay sa ibang bansa. So sa pamamagitan ng ang kanyang pagsusuri sa kalagayan ng mga Filipino expatriates, naging inspirado si Rizal na maging boses para sa kanilang mga karapatan at kahalagahan. This trip provided insights into the challenges faced by overseas Filipinos. So, ang biyaheng ito ni Rizal ay naghatid ng masuring pagsusuri sa mga hamon na kinakaharap ng mga Filipino sa ibang bansa. So, this journey, help Rizal understand the challenges and needs of our kababayans working abroad. So, naging bahagi ito ng kanyang realization sa mga realidad ng buhay ng mga overseas Filipinos, inspiring him to stand up for their rights and be a voice for their well-being. Next is, it contributed to Rizal's views on the necessity of reforms and Filipino independence. So, ang biyaheng ito ni Rizal ay nag-ambag sa kanyang pananaw ukol sa kahalagahan ng mga reforma at ang kagustuhan para sa kalayaan ng mga Pilipino. So, through his travels, Rizal gained insights into the struggles faced by his fellow Filipinos, both at home and abroad. So, ang mga karanasang ito ay nagtulak kay Rizal na magbigay pansin sa mga pangangailangan ng reforma at ang pangarap na makamit ang kalayaan para sa kanyang bayan. So sa kanyang pag-ikot, naging malinaw kay Rizal ang pangangailangan para sa pagbabago at ang karapatang magkaroon ng sariling kalayaan. So ang mga natuklasan niya ay nagbigay lakas sa kanyang adhikain na maging boses ng pagbabago at pangunlad ng Pilipinas. So next, Rizal in Barcelona and Madrid. So Rizal lived in Spain, primarily in Barcelona and Madrid. So, si Jose Rizal ay naninirahan sa Spain, lalo na sa Barcelona at Madrid. So, sa kanyang pananatili sa mga lungsod na ito ay naging saksi siya sa iba't ibang karanasan at nasubaybayan ang kultura at pamumuhay ng mga Espanyol. So, his time in Spain served as a significant period in shaping his ideals and beliefs, influencing his writings and advocacies for reforms in the Philippines. So ang mga karanasang ito ay nagbigay buhay sa kanyang mga sulatin at naging inspirasyon sa kanyang misyon na itaguyod ang mga pagbabago at makamit ang kanyang mga pangarap para sa kanyang bayan. Next, he pursued further education and advocated for reforms. So si Jose Rizal ay nagpatuloy sa kanyang edukasyon at isinulong ang mga reforma. So after completing his studies in various parts of the world, Rizal continued to seek knowledge and engage in activities that aimed for positive changes. So ang kanyang mga pangarap ay hindi lamang para sa kanyang sarili, kundi pati na rin para sa kanyang bayan. So through his writings and actions, he became a strong advocate for reforms, promoting equality and justice in the Philippines. So sa pamamagitan ng kanyang mga gawain, naging boses siya ng pag-asa at inspirasyon para sa maraming Pilipino na nagnanais ng makabuluhang pagbabago. Next is publish his first novel, Nole Me Tangere, in Barcelona. So, sa Barcelona, Spain, inilabas ni Jose Rizal ang kanyang unang nobela na Nole Me Tangere. So, through his literary work, he vividly portrayed the social issues and injustices prevailing in the Philippines during that time. So, ang nobelang ito ay naglaman ng kanyang mga pagmumuni-muni at pagnanasa para sa mga pagbabago ng kanyang bayan at nagsilbing hamon sa mga kababayan na magsikap para sa mas makatarungan at maunlad na lipunan. So Rizal's publication of Nole Me Tangere marked a significant moment in Philippine literature and history, inspiring others to question the status quo and aspire for a better future. So next, studied at Universidad Central de Madrid and engaged in intellectual circles. So, si Jose Rizal ay nag-aral sa Universidad Central de Madrid at nakilahok sa mga intelektual na pag-uusap sa Barcelona, Spain. So, sa kanyang pananatili sa paaralang ito, nagkaroon siya ng pagkakataon na makipag-ugnayan sa mga mag-aaral mula sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo. So his engagement in intellectual circles broadened his perspectives on various subjects and allowed him to exchange ideas with fellow students. So ang kanyang pag-aaral at pakikipagtalastasan ay nagbigay inspirasyon sa kanya na magpatuloy at magpursige sa kanyang mga adhikain para sa edukasyon at reforma. So next, Círculo Hispano-Filipino. So Filipino organization in Spain promoting Filipino welfare and interest. So sa Barcelona, Spain, mayroong samahang Pilipino na nagtataguyod ng kapakanan at interes ng mga Pilipino. So this Filipino organization serves as a community for kababayans to support one another, share experiences, and of course, address common concerns. So ang kanilang layunin ay hindi lamang magtaguyod ng kultura ng Pilipinas, kundi pati na rin itaguyod ang kabutihan at kapakanan ng bawat miyembro. So through various activities and programs, the organization strengthens the bond among Filipinos in Spain and of course, create a sense of home away from home. So ang ganitong mga samahan ay nagbibigay ng suporta at pagkakaisa sa mga Filipino sa ibang bansa. So next, Rizal was a prominent member. So si Jose Rizal ay isang kilalang miyembro sa Barcelona, Spain. So bilang isang prominenteng miyembro, aktibo siya sa mga gawain at usapan para itaguyod ang kapakanan ng mga Pilipino. So ang kanyang mga liderato ay nagbigay inspirasyon sa pagkakaisa at pagsusumikap ng mga kababayan sa ibang bansa. And next, advocated for social and political reforms in the Philippines. So, si Jose Rizal ay isang tagapagtaguyod ng reforma sa lipunan at pampolitika sa Pilipinas. So, as an advocate, he used his writings and actions to highlight the need for positive changes in the country. So, bilang tagapagtaguyod, gumamit siya ng kanyang mga sulatin at gawain para ipakita ang pangangailangan ng magandang pagbabago sa bansa. So Rizal believed in the importance of addressing social and political issues to achieve progress and justice. So naniniwala siya sa kahalagahan ng pagsusuri sa mga usaping panlipunan at pampolitika upang makamit ang kaunlaran at katarungan. So through his advocacy, he inspired many Filipinos to actively participate in the pursuit of a better and more just society. So sa kanyang pagsusulong, nagsilbing inspirasyon si Rizal sa maraming Filipino na aktibong makilahok sa pagtahak sa landas ng isang mas mabuti at mas makatarungang lipunan. So next, Rizal as Mason. So Rizal was a member of the Masonic fraternity in Europe. So si Jose Rizal ay isang miyembro ng Masonic fraternity sa Europe. So as a member, he joined this fraternal organization that promotes principles and brotherhood, equality, and of course, enlightenment. So bilang miyembro, nakilahok si Rizal sa isang organisasyong itinaguyod ang mga prinsipyo ng kapatiran. So pagkakapantay-pantay at kaharian. So being part of the Masonic fraternity also exposed Rizal to diverse ideas and perspectives, influencing his views on society and governance. So ang kanyang pagiging membro ng Masonic fraternity ay nagbukas sa kanya sa iba't ibang ideya at pananaw na nag-ambag sa kanyang pag-unawa sa lipunan at pamahalaan. Okay, next, join the Masonic Lodge Acacia in Madrid. So sumali si Jose Rizal sa Masonic Lodge Acacia sa Madrid. So being part of this Masonic Lodge, he became associated with a group that promotes principles of brotherhood, enlightenment, and of course societal improvement. So sa pagsali niya sa Masonic Lodge Acacia, naging bahagi siya ng isang grupo na nagtataguyod ng mga prinsipyo ng kapatiran, kaalaman, at pag-unlad ng lipunan. So through his involvement, Rizal gained insights from the discussions and interactions within the lodge, influencing his perspectives on various aspects of life and governance. So ang kanyang pagsali sa lodge ay nagbigay sa kanya ng ang masusing kaalaman mula sa talakayan at pakikipag-ugnayan na nagbukas ng mas malalim na pag-unawa sa iba't ibang aspeto ng buhay at ng pamahalaan. And last is, Masonic affiliations were a way to network with like-minded individuals. So, ang pagsasama ni Jose Rizal sa Masonic affiliation ay isang paraan para makipag-ugnayan sa mga taong may parehong pananaw. So, sa pagiging miyembro ng Masonic groups, na nakakilala siya ng mga taong may kaparehong hangarin at prinsipyo sa buhay. So, ang pagsali ni Rizal sa mga ito ay nagbigay daan sa kanya sa pagbuo ng koneksyon at pagkakaroon ng samahan sa mga taong may malalim na pangarap para sa lipunan at pamumuno. So through this affiliation, Rizal was able to establish connections, to build relationships with like-minded individuals who shared common goals for societal improvement. So ang kanyang pagsasama sa mga Masonic groups ay nagsilbing daan upang makabuo siya ng mga koneksyon at makipag-ugnayan sa mga taong may kaparehong adhikain para sa pag-unlad ng lipunan.
Rizal in Paris. Spent time in Paris during his European travels, continued to write and refine his ideas on the Philippine reform and independence, engaged with intellectuals and activists in the city. So, during his time in Paris, Rizal is a Filipino nationalist and polymath. Further his studies in nag-study siya katugkuan kaning ophthalmology, engaged with the Filipino export trades and European intellectual, and continuous activism for Philippine reform. He utilized Paris intellectual and cultural milieu, I think that is one, to advocate for social justice and contributes to the Filipino national movement. So that's why Rizal is in Paris during his time. So next. So second, in Gay Paris, reflect the vibrant culture and intellectual scene of Paris that signifies the atmosphere Rizal experienced in the city, contributed to his involving perspective on reform and independence. So while Jose Rizal did spend in Europe, particularly in the city like Paris, during his travels, there's no significant evidence to suggest that was directly involved or impacted by LGBT culture or scene of that time. Rizal focus during his time in Paris was primarily on his academic pursuit, activism, and Philippine reform. So Rizal, I think what siya nang ilabutan nga time is focusing on the academic pursuit, activism in the Philippines reform, and engagement with fellow Filipino expatriates and European intellectuals. Therefore, there isn't much to discuss about Rizal specifically in context in Gay Paris. I think that it's. So the third is Rizal Grand Tour in Europe. So Rizal Grand Tour of Europe traveled from 1882 to 1887, studied in various European countries, gained exposed to ideas and nationalism and freedom. So Rizal Grand Tour in Europe was a pivotal journey he undertook from 1882 to 1887, which profoundly influences intellectual, political, and personal development. During that tour, Rizal traveled across several European countries including Spain, France, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, Belgium, and England. He pursued further studies, immersed himself in a European culture, engaged with a prominent thinker of the time, and actively participated in the Filipino national movements. So experience and insight gained during the time of Grand Tour ni Rizal, significant shape and perspective of colonialism, nationalism, and social justice, laying the foundation for his later role as a key figure in the Philippines independent movement. So, muna siya maging siya expose ideas sa nationalism and freedom for all the Filipino. So Rizal in Germany. Rizal focused on ophthalmology at the University of Heidelberg, I think, during a significant part of European tour. In Germany, he expanded his knowledge of history, languages, and sciences through intellectual discussion. So Rizal can focus sa pagka-ophthalmologist in the University of Catalonia during the significant part of the European tour. So, during Jose Rizal, yung gipalaman niyang study about ophthalmology and particularly under renowned ophthalmologist Dr. Otto Bucher in katong eskwelahan. And he also engaged with the German intellectual and academy community, broadening his knowledge in various fields. Rizal experience in German further enrich his understanding in European culture and society, influencing his perspective of nationalism, and which he would later incorporate into his writing and advocacy for Philippine independence. So that's why he expanded his knowledge through history, languages, and sciences through intellectual discussion. So that's why Rizal is in Germany. So Rizal's trip to Hong Kong. Rizal briefly returned to the Philippines after European studies, but left due to safety concerns and political climate. In 1892, he voluntarily exiled himself to Hong Kong, where he continued writing and organizing reformist movements to raise awareness about the Philippine situation, practices as an ophthalmologist. So, Rizal trip to Hong Kong is in 1882 and was a significant event during his exile from the Philippines. He went to Hong Kong to escape increasing surveillance by Spanish authorities and continuous efforts advocating for reforms and Philippines independence. So he studied a lot from escape siya sa surveillance sa Spanish. Then, during sa iyang pagpuyong adto kay Rizal, he established a medical clinic to serve the local Chinese community and continued his correspondence with a fellow Filipino nationalist. His time in Hong Kong allowed him to maintain connection with the Filipino community and to further develop his ideas to reform and resistance in a Spanish colonial rule. So, ito siya. It was further explanation about trip to Hong Kong. So, Rizal in Tokyo, Japan. In 1888, Rizal visited Tokyo, Japan for several weeks to observe Japanese society, culture, and politics. He admired Japan's modernization efforts and ability to preserve national identity against Western imperialism, believing Filipinos could learn valuable lessons from the Japan experience. So aside sa kung naibakan kay Rizal in Tokyo, siya nag-observe siya sa Japanese, sa society, sa culture and politics and everything. He admired Japanese in modern efforts like their ability to preserve national identity against Western imperialism, and to sa mga Filipinos could learn valuable lesson from Japan experience. So dapat and his experience in Japan further enriched his understanding of Asian culture and society, influencing his views and nationalism to reform upon his return in the Philippines. So that's why si Rizal kay na niya and he admire the Japanese and the modern efforts because para sa Philippines para ma-adapt sa ato.
So hello, mabuhay. So this is Lemuel Murillo and I will be the last reporter for today's reporting. So my topic is when Rizal's trip to the United States of America. So Jose Rizal made a brief trip to the United States in 1888. He also visited several cities such as San Francisco, San Diego, and New York. Rizal was inspired by the American system of government and the democratic ideals he observed during his visit. So, Rizal first saw America on April 28, 1888, and his arrival in this great country was marred by racial prejudice. He saw the discriminatory treatment of the Chinese and the Negroes by the white Americans. So, upon Rizal's arrival in San Francisco, the arrival of Rizal in San Francisco. So, Saturday, April 28, 1888, the steamer Belgic docked at San Francisco. American health authorities did not let the passengers to land for 1 week because of the rumored cholera epidemic. But Rizal knew that there was no cholera epidemic at that time, and he protested with other passengers that is unjustifiable actions of American authorities. He also discovered that it was motivated by the politics and the ship was carrying 643 Chinese coolies. When Rizal is in the San Francisco, May 4, 1888, the day he was permitted to go ashore and registered at the Palace Hotel, which was then considered a first-class hotel in the city. So May 4 to 6, 1888, Rizal stayed in San Francisco. Across the American continent, May 6, 1888, it was Sunday, 4:30 p.m. Rizal left San Francisco for Oakland, 9 miles across San Francisco Bay, by ferry boat. May 7, 1888, it was morning, and Rizal awoke and had a good breakfast at Reno, Nevada, now glamorized by American high-pressure propaganda as the biggest little city in the world. So from May 7 to May 13, Rizal wrote in his diary the beautiful memories from Nevada, Chicago, until he reached Albany. So next slide is when Rizal is in London. So when Rizal is in New York, May 13, 1888, it was Sunday morning. When Rizal reached New York, he stayed 3 days in the city, which he called the Big Town. May 16, 1888, Rizal left New York for Liverpool on board the City of Rome. Rizal saw the Statue of Liberty on Bidlow Island. Rizal's impressions of America, this is the good impressions of Rizal, which are, so first, the material progress of the country as shown in the great cities, huge farms, flourishing industries, and basic factories. Second one, the drive and the energy of American people, the natural beauty of the land, the high standard of living, the opportunities for better life offered to poor immigrants, and then the bad impressions of Rizal had of America was the lack of racial equality. So 1890, 2 years after Rizal's visit to the United States, Jose Alejandro, who was then studying engineering in Belgium, roomed with him. Room with him. Rizal's impressions of America is the land par excellence of freedom, but only for the whites. So next slide. When Rizal is in London. Rizal stayed in London for some time during his European travels. He continued his advocacy for Filipino reforms and independence. Rizal's time in London allowed him to connect with other people, expatriates and reformists. So Rizal's in Belgian Brussels. Rizal lived in Brussels, Belgium during his European sojourn. So when we say sojourn, it means a temporary stay. So sa Rizal nga naa sa Brussels, so temporary siya nagpuyo ngadto. But sa iyang pagpuyo ngadto sa Brussels, he wrote several important works in Brussels. He wrote his second novel, The El Filibusterismo. So, guys, ang El Filibusterismo, kay adto ni siya gibuhat ni Rizal sa Belgium, Brussels. So, Rizal's stay in Brussels was marked by continued intellectual and literary output. So next, misfortune in Madrid. While in Madrid, Rizal faced various challenges and hardships. He experienced financial difficulties and struggled to support himself. So, understandable na maging siya no nga ang sa first sentence and the second sentence nga naka-attach sa screen. So, ito sa ikaduha. So mata siya. So, sa pagpuyo ning Rizal sa Madrid, so na siya experience financial difficulties and struggled to support himself. But, despite of those challenges, Rizal persevered in his quest for reforms and independence for the Philippines. Rizal in Ghent. Rizal spent some time in Ghent, Belgium during his European travels. Ghent was known for its progressive and intellectual environment. Excuse me. So when we say progressive, so ang pag-progress sa Belgium, so pagka maunlaron sa Belgium. And intellectual environment, so is a term that relates to their ability to think, to understand things, and it can also refer to the environment that provides children with the ability to be challenged, to test ideas, to demonstrate their theories in practice. So next. So, Rizal's stay in Ghent allowed him to further his studies and engage with the European thought and politics. So, any questions? Clarifications? Violent reactions? Jurassic reactions? Okay, none so far. So, according to Rizal, without education and liberty, which are the soil and the son of man, no reform is possible. No measure can give the result desired. So it simply means that a gift of knowledge cannot be stolen and can bring you to the peak of your dreams. Diba? Shalan kayo ang quote ni Rizal. Moro to. So next guy, oh, thank you for listening. So these are the reporters for the group 2. Jonathan Llagas, Christian Banzon, Kymneil Barral, Lemuel Murillo. So thank you and God bless everybody. Arigatou gozaimasu.